Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Art of Creation Homestead. My name is Jason. We're in the kitchen today, and while this is going to be a recipe that we're taking to Angela's family's house for Christmas, Angela's mom's house for Christmas with her family, this is not necessarily a Christmas recipe. So there you have it. But it's good for Christmas and get-togethers. But what we're doing today, if you've seen the title of the video, you obviously know, but it's black and white Oreo cheesecake bars. Is that correct? See, thought it through, didn't I? But Angela's over here at the island. She's gonna take you through what she's got going on, okay?
Now these would also be good for a New Year's Eve party. So in this food processor, I have crushed up 24 Oreos. And as you can see, I've crushed them up just into a powder. Now I left the filling in. I didn't scrape all the filling out. I left the filling in. It'll be fine.
Or you could do about 2 quarts of potting soil.
It looks like potting soil.
It's a joke.
Now, if you don't have a food processor or don't want to use a food processor, you can use a rolling pin and take out your frustrations. And we have 1/4 of a cup, which is a half a stick, of unsalted butter that is very soft. Now, I know that's different than most people make cheesecake crust. I get that. Most people put in melted butter, stir it together by hand, everything like that. I do my cheesecake crust totally different. If I ever do a full cheesecake for the channel, you will see I do this for everything cheesecake. I put in softened butter, spin it up in the food processor until it starts to clump together and make a good crust. Then I pat it into the pan and refrigerate it until I make the filling. That way the filling and the crust bake together and adhere together instead of par baking the crust and the crust ending up kind of separate from the cake. So I'm gonna blend this together until it comes together like a good crust. I'll show you what it looks like when it's there. Now I have a 13x9 glass baking dish and I've lined it with parchment. You do want to line it because if you don't line it with foil or parchment or something, it's going to be hard to get out.
Mm-hmm.
And this way you can lift them out and cut them.
Yeah.
Otherwise you're going to have to cut them and then try to scoop them out, which is going to be hard. Mm-hmm. Now you want to dump your crust mixture into your 13x9. And see, it's a good crust. You can tell that you've got enough butter in it because you pick up the crumbs and squeeze them. And see, they stay together. Mm-hmm. That's how you can tell it's a good crust. Now you want to scatter this all the way out to the corners, but because these are bars and not a full-on cheesecake, you don't want to go up the sides. This is just a bottom crust, not a side crust. So you want to push it in really good into the corners. You want to push down and make a good firm crust. Some people, I've seen people use a measuring cup to do this.
Tamp it down with measuring cup.
My measuring cups are curved on the bottom, so that don't work very good.
There's still a flat surface there.
But they're not flat enough.
No.
The ones that are very flat, you can use a glass if you have a glass that is very flat on the bottom. Anything that is very flat on the bottom you can. But I tend to just use my hands. As I've told you before, my favorite tools in the kitchen are the ones God put at the end of my wrist. Now, as I told you, I do mine different. This is going to go in the refrigerator to chill and that butter to firm back up while I'm making the cheesecake. That way when it bakes, all of it will adhere together. So I'm going to put this in the refrigerator and then we'll get started on the cheesecake. Now I have my oven preheated to 325 because you want to do this low. Cheesecake, you always want to do low. And in the bowl of my KitchenAid mixer, you do not have to use a KitchenAid. You can use a hand mixer, but the KitchenAid makes my life a lot easier. I have 4 bricks, which is 32 ounces of softened cream cheese. This is at room temperature. And to this, I'm going to add 3/4 of a cup of granulated sugar. That word's hard to say. And the sugar, the reason you want to put it in with the cream cheese is so that it works as an abrasive to help make the cream cheese creamier. So now I'm going to turn this on about medium speed and let it go until it's nice and creamy. I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. As you can see, it's all creamy now. So I'm going to add a half a cup of sour cream. This will give it a little bit of a tang and make it bake right. Sometimes I will add it to cheesecake and sometimes I won't. But because these are bars, you want them to be a little more creamy. So this will help do that. So I'm going to blend this in until it's all nice and incorporated. Now, as you can see, this is all creamy now. And it's a lot creamier than it was before I added the sour cream. Now to this, I'm going to add 2 roughly measured teaspoons.
Just pour in half a gallon of vanilla. That's not very anything.
No, you don't want to put in that much. Now I'm not going to mix that in yet because now we are going to add our eggs one at a time. So these are beautiful backyard eggs. I'm going to crack a Maggie egg.
Beautiful eggs.
Look at that beautiful egg.
Yep.
Now I'm going to add these one at a time, and you want to mix just till it's incorporated between each one. Now we've got a very silky cheesecake batter.
Really nice looking, actually.
Now we are going to dump off half of that into another bowl. Now, you don't have to stand there and weigh it. Just roughly eyeball it when it looks about half. Does that look like half to you, Jason?
I really have no idea.
I think it looks like half.
Okay.
I think it looks like half.
I think it's 60-40.
I think it looks like half.
I think it's 75-25.
I think you're aggravating me.
72-28. 64-36.
85-15.
That's ground beef.
Now with your half of the batter that is still in the KitchenAid bowl, because this has to be done with a mixer, I'm adding 6 ounces of melted semi-sweet chocolate. This has been melted and cooled. Not cooled to the point of it solidifying again, but cooled to the point that it won't curdle your eggs.
Good point, actually.
Because chocolate can get very hot when it's
Since
melted.
you got raw egg in there, it will cook that egg.
Yeah, and you'll end up with scrambled eggs and partially scrambled eggs in your cheesecake.
Scrambled egg cheesecake.
Now, you do want to mix this with a mixer because otherwise it will get very streaky. You really want to mix that with a mixer because it doesn't mix in well by hand. So now I'm going to turn this on low speed and let it mix it in just until it's incorporated. Okay, now your chocolate layer is done. And see, it's nice and beautiful. It's very silky.
Looks good.
Now we'll go to the Oreo layer. This is the other half of your batter. And here I've got 14 Oreos that I've just broke up with my hands. And I'm going to add most of them. Some of them will go on top. I'm going to leave maybe that many.
Okay. You just kind of want to like decorate it on top
Yeah.
of it. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Now you want to fold those in. You don't have to break them real precise. Some bigger, some smaller. It's all fine.
Depends on how big you want them, honestly.
Yes. And if you want more Oreo in it than this,
Then it's too much.
do more. If you want more in it,
Whatever you want to do.
if you don't want to use them to decorate the top and make it nice and pretty, then just throw them all in. And it will be just fine. I just threw a few more in from my topping. But see, this is going to be a nice little Oreo layer without being overpowering. You want it to everything to be nicely balanced. Now we're going to get out our crust and I'll show you how I layer it. See, our crust is now firmed up because that butter is firmed back up. So now it will all melt together and adhere together better. Now you want to put your chocolate layer on. You want to get as much of that beautiful batter out of there as possible. That's why I'm using a silicone spatula so that I can scrape it down really well. Now you want to spread this out to all the corners really well because you want a nice even layer. You want a nice even layer of your chocolate mixture. This is what makes it black and white. Because you've got your chocolate layer on the bottom, on top of your crust, and then you've got your Oreo layer. And you will be glad that you lined it, because they will be hard to get out if you don't. Now, once you have that layer all done, you will notice that that layer is going to be a little thicker because of the chocolate. You will pour on this layer, kind of pour it around, don't pour it in one big blob. That way you can spread it out without bringing up the chocolate layer. Now you want to gently push it out to the sides, trying not to bring up that chocolate layer. Now some of it is going to sink into your chocolate layer. It's fine. But you don't want to mix the two together. You want that clear definition of black and white. Now we've got that layer all spread out, and we're going to take these few Oreo crumbs that we have, and I'm going to crush them up a little bit more. I'm going to crush them up a little bit more with my hands. That way they distribute better and they're not such big chunks. And now you're just going to randomly scatter them over the top. Just drop a few here and there. This is just for prettiness sake. And when you get them all put on, you want to kind of push them in just a little bit. Now you want to pop this into your 325-degree preheated oven. It's going to take a little bit to bake, so just don't get impatient with it, because it is going to take a little bit to bake. I'll show you what it looks like when it's there. These beautiful cheesecake bars are now done. They baked between 40 and 45 minutes. Now these instructions are very specific. You want to turn off your oven and turn off your oven light. Put them on the top rack of your oven. That way the heat isn't making them cook even more. And you want to shut your oven door, but you want to leave it cracked about like this. Now if your light is like mine and the light comes back on when the door is cracked, you will see right here that there is a button that turns the light on and off. So you need to rest something up against that button. You can wad up a ball of foil and put up against there and let the door rest against that ball of foil. That way it'll hold the button in and keep the light off. And you want to leave those in the oven with the oven cracked until your oven becomes completely cool. And when your oven has become completely cool, then you will take your cheesecake bars out, put them on a cooling rack, and let them rest at room temperature until they come completely to room temperature. And then you will put them in the refrigerator and refrigerate for 8 hours to overnight. Preferably overnight. They will be much better if they have chilled overnight.
Alright, now I'm going to be nice and eat a little one, okay? Because this is pre-Christmas right here, but I'm going to taste it if this camera battery don't die on me. I'm glad this ball's holding me up. This is so good. Okay, I'm going to eat another bite just so y'all can suffer. You don't understand. Like, Angela's an amazing cook and baker. Cheesecakes are another world. Just, the cheesecakes are from Mars. Okay, it's just for real. They're extraterrestrial. They're not human. They're not of this world. They're amazing, and this is no different. Angela K's brilliant, and this is an example of that. Just being honest with you, it's so good. It's a gift from God that I can enjoy. So deal with it. Alright, so thank you guys so much for watching. We do appreciate it. My name is Jason. That's Smartman. She's the genius behind this all. Her name is Angela K. This is Art of Creation Homestead. We love y'all. God bless you and goodbye.